they talking real loud, spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamin. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right. I see We Next, aka DSB, is getting us started off with super chats and gifts. Okay. Gifting memberships to the channel. All right, he has gifted 3 memberships to the channel before the broadcast even gets started. Okay. Oh, I'm here for it today. Got my popcorn on deck. Let's go, my beautiful warrior sister queen. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate your kind words. All right, there's a membership. Somebody snatch it. Everybody, be sure to shout out DSB, okay, for gifting these memberships. All right, so everybody, let's hit the like button. Please like and share. We Next, aka DSB says, yeah, I got time today. I do too, beloved. That's why I had to pop back up here. Okay, we got to talk about Trump. We've got to talk about the whistleblower exposing Elon and DOGE. Okay, there was a school shooting in Dallas. All right. Biden gives his first speech since Trump took office. A U.S.-born citizen was told to leave the U.S. All right. So, and Trump has a hot mic moment. So we're going to go through all of this. But first things first, let's talk about the school shooting that happened in Dallas. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. I'm going to share my screen so we can get into this. And mind you, I haven't seen any of this news. I'm watching it with you all, just as you all are. Okay, here's another gifted membership from DSB. All right, so let's see who all else is in here. Reggie, I see you, beloved. Gwendolyn, Pearly, G from the land, Nessa G, Deronda. All right, let's get into it. Gwendolyn, Sweet D is here. Khalid, Herleen, Pearly, Deronda. All hell no. All right, Bithia is here. Okay, beloved. Shout out to all of my loyal royals. I see you, Christine. Okay, shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. Miss Black Butterfly is in the house. Listen, you guys, if you haven't been receiving your notifications, or you haven't been getting anything posting from me, I post every single day. All right, Monday through Friday. Sometimes on the weekend can be iffy, but always Monday through Friday I'm posting. If you don't get a notification, don't see anything, please come check the channel, check my community tab, okay, and also my Twitter for the links. All right, I see you just anticipate. Denise is here. Edward. All right, so let's get into it. Lights up, everyone, please. Like and share. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hold on, I almost forgot. Let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so let's get into it.
Again, a live now look over at Wilmer Hutchins High School, where we are seeing that perhaps we're going to be getting that briefing very, very soon here from investigators down on the ground regarding that shooting that happened at a high school. It looks like this law enforcement official is getting set up to provide some details. Let's listen in momentarily and see if we can hear any updates.
Right here, X, we hold the block right here. They don't have a podium, they just be pretty close to like. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
They're walking up now. They are walking up now. They are walking up.
All right, so you can hear that the photographer on the ground saying they are walking up now, presumably, again, the officials that are going to provide that update. Let's continue to listen.
First, you will hear from our Assistant Chief of Police in Dallas ISD, our Assistant Police Chief here in Dallas ISD, and her name is Christina Smith. That is spelled Christina, Smith spelled the traditional way, followed by Dr. Stephanie Elizalde, Superintendent of Schools in Dallas ISD, name spelling Stephanie, Stephanie, Elizalde, Elizalde. You will hear from them first, and then we will only take 2 questions. So following that, you will hear from them, and then we'll be escorted out. But thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Earlier today, we responded to a shooting call at Wilmer Hutchins High School. This is a tragic situation, and I know everyone wants answers, and we are going to give you what we know at this point. It remains a fluid investigation, and all of our law enforcement partners are helping us to work on this investigation. We had 4 students injured today and were transported to area hospitals. The suspect has not been arrested, but we have identified the suspect, and as I mentioned, we have many of our law enforcement partners helping us, and we are working on locating and arresting the suspect at this time. I'd like to now introduce Dallas ISD Superintendent Stephanie Elizalde.
Thank you, Chief. Today, as we all know, the unthinkable has happened, and quite frankly, this is just becoming way too familiar, and it should not be familiar. I do want everyone to know that I just got off the phone with Governor Abbott, who just called to get an update, a status report, and to offer any resources that we need to assist us. So I know that there are many questions, and we're not going to have all the answers right now because some of the information will be inaccurate. So we will do our very best because we know it is important to be always transparent. I do need to take a moment to ensure that first and foremost, we know that we have been able to reunify all of our high school students with their parents and guardians. The team of Dallas ISD Police Department and our Office of Emergency Management, along with all of the agencies that assisted us in ensuring that we ensured everyone was safe. And it is important to note that within 2 minutes, of course, we already had an officer here at the high school that was able to respond immediately to the incident, followed by Wilmer Police, who were next on the scene. But I'm sure that you can tell that there were multiple agencies from the Sheriff's Department, the City Police, whether it was City Police from Dallas, City Police from Wilmer, City Police from Hutchins, of course.
Okay, we're going to the other broadcast from CBS. Also, thank you so much, DSB. DSB has just gifted this channel at least 8 memberships. Okay, you guys be sure to shout him out. Thank you for all the super chat donations and all of the memberships, beloved. I truly, truly appreciate you and for all that you do. Peace, love, and blessings.
The emotions, if you will, from that superintendent about not only this happening today, but of course, it has happened on this campus before. Dealing with the facts of it, however, is the police, Dallas ISD police, confirming that according to them, that this gun was not accessed. Student did not access a weapon through the traditional manners of the particular checks at the front entrance where these students come in through metal detectors. So the question is, how did this gun, the person with the gun, get access to this school? That question was not answered, but they focused on the fact that their protocol of checking for these weapons every single day, they say no weapon was accessed in that manner. It does not change the fact that we have one student with gunshot wounds. We have another with, we understand, has injuries from this shooting. 2 others also hospitalized as well. And again, there are many parents here who voice their frustration and concern because we've been here before. Wilmer Hutchins High School with another case not more than a year ago, April 12th, where there was gunfire inside this school. As a result of this, the good news, 99.9% of the kids here today went through lockdown. They went through the process. They got away, went into that particular process over to that stadium, reconnected with their family, and they are safe. But many people here are not happy because, yet again, someone accesses a weapon and children are shot and injured as a result of it.
Okay. So very unfortunate circumstances, you all. Very unfortunate circumstances. And, you know, these things are happening all too often. And I find it interesting that Trump was sitting there talking about people pushing people on the subway. But remember, he had Daniel Penny to the White House for brunch, did he not? Daniel Penny, who took the life of someone on the subway because they were talking too loud. Please pay attention. And then when he talks about despicable people in this country who he calls homegrown criminals and terrorists, he mentions people hitting someone upside the head, a little old lady. He mentions someone shoving someone on the subway, but doesn't mention school shooters. Aren't they like the bottom of the barrel, so to speak? Okay. Aren't they like the bottom of the barrel, some of the most dangerous? All right, please make it all make sense. So anyway, let's get more into the details of it all. This is from NBC Dallas Fort Worth. Okay. Wilmer Hutchins school shooting, suspect on the run. 4 students were shot, including one who was grazed in a shooting at Wilmer Hutchins High School in Dallas Tuesday afternoon. The school is the same where a student was injured in a shooting in a classroom last year. Officials with Dallas Fire Rescue confirmed the injuries and said the patients' ages were 15 through 18 and had injuries that range from serious to not life-threatening. In a brief news conference, Dallas ISD police and district officials said the gunman had been identified but is still at large. The suspect's identity has not been made public. Well, why not? This man's a whole school shooter. Why are they trying to protect his name? Okay, even if he's a minor. The bottom line is people need to see his face. So what if someone runs into him? Do you see how stupid this is? If someone runs into him, sees him on the streets or whatever, he's clearly most likely armed and dangerous. So why aren't they telling the name and showing his photo? Okay. Anyway, they go on to say that school officials provided no details about the suspect. Oh, really? I find that interesting. And so what they're saying is school officials were reluctant, please pay attention, to share many details surrounding the shooting or how a gun was brought into the school. See, people, this is why I promote for homeschooling of your children. These people don't give a darn about your children. They're not taking the proper precautionary measures to prevent things like this from happening. And then when something happens, look, they don't want to even talk about it. Now, notice that the lady, when she was talking, she was saying everything except how many people were injured, anything about the gunman. That's why I switched to a different news channel. Okay? Because they're being tight-lipped. What's really going on here? Now, goes on to say, we do know that the gun did not come through during regular intake time. So it was not a failure of our staff, our protocols, or the machinery that we have. Please sit down somewhere. Of course, you're not going to admit to that. Dallas ISD Superintendent Stephanie Elizalde said school was canceled at Wilmer Hutchins for the rest of the week. They said we will have mental health clinicians and others available to assist anyone who would like to meet with counselors to discuss the incident. Okay, now Elizalde said during a news conference Tuesday that the school had completed reunification between students and parents at the school stadium. Okay, so it looks like this may be a student. Let me share my screen so if I can get this to. Okay, so it looks like this is a student who may have seen something or whatever, or who just wants to speak about the situation.
Well, I was in biology class, and my teacher, she was going over our work, and we heard a gunshot. And at first, I was trying to process it because, usually, they have little things smack, they're around the halls and they play around. So I was processing it until it went off again, and it was faster this time. So that's when me and my classmates, we got up and we went behind the teacher's desk, and I was making sure my classmates were okay. And then we went into the storage room, and we had waited there until we got escorted out.
What's going through your mind right now?
I'm still trying to process with everything that's going on, and this happened last year, and experiencing it, because today's my this is my first year in high school, so experiencing it's a traumatic experience. So many things going on in my head. I'm texting my family, and they're making sure that I'm okay and stuff.
Your godmother?
Yeah.
What? I mean, did you get the call, or what was going through your mind coming to get it?
I got the call, and I'm blessed that the media was here to report.
The media, with all due respect, or shall I say with all due disrespect, the media asked the most asinine questions. What was going through your mind as you were coming here? What would be going through any parent's mind, okay, or relative of someone at the school, that they hope that they're safe and that they're alive, okay? That they were able to find shelter and be protected, that they're still breathing, sir. But let's continue.
Report and let us know what was going on. She was frantically calling me when I received the call, and I'm just glad she's okay. I pray that they can overcome this. This is a reality, unfortunately, that we live in, especially here in Texas. It seems like every day there's something going on, but she's okay in one piece, and I can ask for nothing else.
I was literally out here this time last year for the shooting. Back-to-back shootings, regardless of the circumstances, does that make you kind of
It's a wake-up call, I think, for the students to truly understand that it's very real and it's present in our own backyard. And but I think with like any parent, we're gonna do, when the call comes, we're gonna run and be here. So I think as a community, we just have to be more aware, and the kids need to speak up if they know or see something.
Okay, instead of him sitting there asking that poor child all those questions, who clearly was traumatized, as she said, not to mention she knew about the shooting from last year, and this was her first year in high school, so clearly not what she expected, wanted, or anticipated. He should have been consoling her. You know, young lady, you're so very brave. I'm sorry that you've been traumatized by this. You know, go home and thank your stars tonight that the Most High protected you and you made it out, and pray for the friends or the fellow students who were injured. All right? Why don't you say something like that? But anyway, I digress. Okay, so now let's talk about this whistleblower, honey, who's giving up all the secrets. Okay, giving up all the ingredients and the recipe because what the hell does Elon have going on here? Whistleblower claims DOGE took sensitive data. Now he's being hounded and receiving threatening notes. Isn't that something? Okay. Isn't that something? I think Reggie asked where in Texas did this occur. They said it was Dallas. Reggie said he is tone deaf and can't muster up the empathy. Okay, he's just trying to get his story out, honey. Please pay attention. That's all he's trying to do. Okay, so here we go. This ought to be good.
Coming forward with claims that DOGE not only accessed data from his agency, but also took a substantial amount of sensitive data with them. According to a disclosure shared with Congress, quote, around 10 gigabytes of data, or quote, the equivalent of a full stack of encyclopedias worth if someone printed these files as hard copy documents, unquote. Now, that data came from the National Labor Relations Board. That's an independent federal agency that investigates allegedly unfair labor practices by private sector employers and unions, and collects and stores sensitive and confidential information in the process. It's the type of information the Democratic Senator Chris Murphy asked the head of the National Labor Relations Board if she would protect from Elon Musk during her, it asked the Secretary of Labor, rather, if she would protect this data from Elon Musk during her confirmation hearing in mid-February.
And this is an individual who owns companies that have existing investigations. Mm-hmm. He has a direct interest in getting information about the seriousness of those investigations. He has interest in getting information about investigations against his competitors.
So that's the reason why it should be protected, among others. Joining us now, Daniel Baroulis. He's the whistleblower that we were talking about, as well as his attorney, Andrew Bakai. And Daniel, you're fairly new to this role. This is your first TV interview as a whistleblower. And also, you're fairly new to the role at the National Labor Relations Board. You're just under a year with the agency. How did you first deduce that there was a problem?
So I spent a lot of time in the private sector, and you start to see these indicators of compromise sometimes, and they kind of raise red flags. And so when you start seeing those, you put together the puzzle, and more likely than not, that's how you flesh out a breach. And I saw those same indicators in my agency and started raising the flag.
So in your complaint that you shared with Congress, you include this screenshot we're going to show. It shows a large spike in data leaving the National Labor Relations Board. You say that's extremely unusual because data almost never directly leaves the databases. How do you know what was being removed? And is it possible you saw something that has a plausible explanation behind it?
I definitely would prefer that, actually. I've tried to prove the negatives multiple times. It correlates directly with data that was exiting the database at the same time. There's a lot of corroborating evidence that points to it. That was the first thing I tried to do, is just rule out every other solution before I went this route.
We reached out to the White House about your claims, which obviously were made public when you came forward and went to Congress. You got this statement, quote, "It is months old news that President Trump signed an executive order to hire DOGE employees at agencies and coordinate data sharing. Their highly qualified team has been extremely public and transparent in its efforts to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse across the executive branch, including the National Labor Relations Board," unquote. What's your response to that?
So I believe that if that was true, we would have access to the code that they're running. We would be able to see these things that they're hiding. I don't believe that there's transparency, and that's all I'm asking for here.
And Andrew, give us the view, the 30,000-foot view here, because obviously this data could be beneficial to others, either corporations or even a foreign actor with malign intention. How do you know that?
So we know that because the information that the National Labor Relations Board looks at are basically corporate documents and things that involve unions. So there's a lot of sensitive corporate information that is included within this, which yes, could be of interest to Elon Musk, but at the same time, they're of interest to our foreign adversaries. I'd like to step back for a moment and talk about what the larger implication is here. So this is happening at the NLRB, at the National Labor Relations Board. But Dan is brave enough to come forward, and there are others within the government that I've talked to and that we've talked to who have seen something identical as this. There are two data points that I want to point out that should give everybody pause. The first thing, what Dan witnessed, was that within 15 minutes of DOGE employees creating user accounts, i.e. usernames and passwords, within 15 minutes of those accounts being created, somebody or something from Russia tried to log in with the right username and right passwords. That is to say, the right credentials. And that happened over 20 times. The second data point, which is really critical, is that DOGE has also been using Starlink as a means to exfiltrate data. What that means is that from our understanding that Russia has a direct pipeline of information through Starlink, which means that anything going through Starlink is going to Russia. We also know that this is not unique to the NLRB. This is happening government-wide. And then the other thing that I wanted to flag for everybody is that right now, and I don't want to say that this is intentional, it could be very well have been a mistake, is that critical infrastructure databases in many government agencies, as we understand it, have been exposed to the open internet, which includes critical databases at the Department of Energy, which includes a lot of our nuclear regulatory agency material. So right now, the real concern is that this is not unlike Chernobyl and all of the control panels lighting up after the meltdown. This is serious, and I just want to commend Dan for coming forward to bring this to everybody's attention, because this really is the tip of the iceberg.
Andrew, how can you say...
Shout out to Dan for snitching, honey. Elon, you need to go to jail.
How do you know that somebody was logging in from Russia in that 15-minute period?
Dan actually saw that happen.
Yeah, there's logs and records we keep that show, they geotag based on latitude, longitude, where login's coming from. And we saw blocked ones from Russia using that account.
You also told our producer that shortly after sharing your concerns about a potential breach that you received a threat at your home, including photographs. What did the photograph show? Was there a message?
The message was clear, although poorly constructed. It was to stop looking, stop reporting. The pictures were of me walking my dog from above.
Basically,
a satellite photo?
No.
A drone. They had a drone following him. How much you want to bet it was a drone? Probably Elon's too.
Oh, it was actually taken by a drone. What's really disturbing about all of this is that we had somebody literally either themselves or have somebody go to Dan's home and tape a threatening note, a menacing note that included a lot of personal information. There was a clear reference to his whistleblowing activities ahead of our filing, and with an image basically threatening him as he's walking his dog. That image was taken via drone. We've taken this very seriously. And by the way, I've done this for a number of years professionally, and this is something that really takes me aback. And it's only something that I've seen maybe once or twice in handling whistleblower claims, both public and private sector.
All right. Daniel Baroulis and Andrew Bukai, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, y'all heard that? And Reggie said that Elon is committing espionage. Well, that's what it sounds like. Is he spying for Russia? I have several questions, but you also said with your nefarious self that the guy who's the whistleblower, Dan, looks like Chaz Bono, Sonny and Cher's son, who was previously their daughter, as you can see. Kind of see the resemblance, but that was so nefarious of you to point that out, Reggie. Okay, now, with that all being said, Elon has never shown us not one receipt as to where all this supposed fraud has been going. And, you know, it wouldn't be far-fetched to think that they're sending information over there to Russia, because we already know that Trump and Putin are besties. Okay? Question for me is, who does Trump like the best? Putin or Netanyahu? Okay? I have questions. Now, let's talk about his hot mic moment. Now, don't ask me what he said, because I'm looking at this for the first time, just like you all are. This is Rachel Maddow going in. Trump exposed in hot mic moment, planning further abuse of power, honey. We caught him red-handed. Okay, we done caught him red-handed. Trump is nothing but a low-down, nefarious devil that slithered his way, mind you, into the White House after being a whole convict.
A little hard to hear, but if you listen closely, you can just make out what the president is saying as he enters the Oval Office today with the president of El Salvador.
Criminals next. Yeah. I said homegrowns are next. The homegrowns built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right.
Okay, let me just stop right there for a second. Listen, family. Didn't I tell you all that earlier when I showed the clip of him talking to the president of El Salvador? Didn't I tell you all that they probably got together before they came in front of the cameras to sit down and chat, that they probably had something going on? Didn't I tell y'all that probably was back there plotting? Now you heard it. Talking about the homegrown ones are going next. So this low down dirty devil already knew, already had it planned, that he is not going to bring that man back to the United States. They were already back there discussing it. That's why we just heard him say that the homegrown ones are next. And Black people, they're talking about us, okay? They're talking about us. Because those crimes that Trump spoke on, where he said these people do these things, he was talking about Black people. Excuse me, when he's talking about somebody shoving on the subway, somebody hitting an old lady upside the head, that's what people like Trump typically stereotype about people who look like us. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. All right, now they've already told this woman who was born in the U.S. to go back. All right, this is all nefarious, honey. Leon said, you sure did, Queen. Okay, this is all crazy. But let's keep listening.
Laughter all around. That was Donald Trump today talking to the president of El Salvador, a man who calls himself the world's coolest dictator. And you could hear there what sounded like Trump promising that he's about to send to a prison in El Salvador the, quote, homegrowns, meaning U.S. citizens. He says homegrowns are next. You're going to need to build about 5 new places. The Trump administration has flown hundreds of non-U.S. citizens to this foreign prison in El Salvador already, including 10 more that they flew there this weekend. Even though the U.S. government has sent these people to this prison, the Trump administration says they have no protection under U.S. law there, that this facility doesn't answer to U.S. courts. The people sent there are just gone. They're sent into that prison maybe forever with no way to be heard, no way to contest whatever the designation was that got the U.S. government to send them there. Certainly no way to get out, ever. Are homegrowns really next? Would the American president send American citizens?
Let me tell you all something. Have to be very careful, because what this could potentially be is human trafficking. Because they're sending people who actually have a right to be in this country over there. Is there any money being exchanged? I have questions. This could in fact be human trafficking, okay? These people being sent over there, rights violated, not given any explanation, then get over there and not knowing when or if they can ever leave. Okay? This sounds like human trafficking, Trump. All right? That's what it sounds like.
To indefinite, totally lawless, apparently permanent imprisonment in El Salvador as well. Is he open to that? Apparently, yes, he is.
Who can say what?
A homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And
if we can do that, that's good. Pam, meaning Pam Bondi, the Attorney General.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to send American citizens to foreign prisons where U.S. legal protections don't apply at all, where people can be held for the rest of their lives without ever having a day in court or any sort of process. He says Attorney General Pam Bondi is, quote, studying the laws right now to see if he really could do it because he'd love to do it. It was only last week on Thursday when the Supreme Court ruled unanimously 9-0 in favor of a man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's a legal resident. He's a Maryland father. The Trump administration admits they sent him to that prison in El Salvador by mistake. The Supreme Court effectively ordered the Trump administration to facilitate this man's return to the U.S. from that El Salvadoran prison without explicitly defining what that would look like. The Trump administration has insisted that they can't return him, and they don't intend to. They said that the man's fate is up to the president of El Salvador for some reason. Today in the Oval Office, it was a reporter who finally asked El Salvador's president if he would please return this man to the United States. The El Salvadoran president called the question, quote, preposterous. Of course he wouldn't. So we have here a constitutional nightmare, a legal nightmare, obviously a moral nightmare. Cheryl Eiffel is the former president of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. She has been sounding the alarm about this. She has argued that Trump will start testing constitutional limits by trying to deport U.S. citizens from American prisons to places like El Salvador, and that Americans, in order to stop that slippery slope where it is, must take on the challenge of caring about and standing up for U.S. prisoners. Quote, many of us have been working on how to legally head off this nightmare, but public outcry and support will be essential. Are you ready to march for the most despised members of our society? Will you call your representatives about those who are imprisoned? If you can't feel for them or their families, remember that this is just a stage in a plan that will land ultimately at our own doorsteps. Every one of us deemed inconvenient by this administration will be under threat. And every time Trump is successful, he grows more emboldened and more convinced that nothing can stop him. Joining us now is Cheryl Eiffel. She's the Vernon E. Jordan Jr. Distinguished Chair in Civil Rights at Howard Law School. Ms. Eiffel, it's been too long. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you, Rachel.
You wrote this piece over the weekend, sort of sounding the alarm. He's talking about U.S. citizens. He's talking about U.S. citizens. This is a constitutional end. This is an end of constitutional protections in the United States in a really fundamental way. That was before today's Oval Office meeting, where the president very cheerfully confirmed that, oh yes, he's talking about doing this to U.S. citizens too. Is the president actually moving faster than you thought he might? Are you at least pleased that the American public have to see this as clearly now as you have been?
Yes, and I very much thank you for this conversation tonight, Rachel. I've been sounding the alarm because Trump has been saying it over and over. In fact, he started out when his family first met with the president of El Salvador a couple of months ago. And he said then that the president of El Salvador was interested in housing U.S. prisoners. He said it again the other night as he was exiting or entering his plane. I don't remember which one it was, where he talked about this again. He said, you know, for our worst of the worst, people who knock old ladies over the head, people who push people in front of subway trains, or if you had a bad judge and a bad prosecutor who didn't do the case right because they only care about politics. He's been repeating this over and over again. He tweeted that he can't wait to see people who attack Teslas face incarceration in El Salvadoran prisons. And by now,
I want you all to think about this, okay? Think about the ramifications of what Trump is saying. Think about this. And also, he's talking about people that are attacking Tesla. sending them over there. Trump basically would like to send anybody who doesn't kiss his butt, bow down and kiss the ring and do whatever he says or want. He wants to send them, or anyone who comes out against him or Elon, he wants to send them there too. Please pay attention. They've been discussing this for months, likely. This isn't something that he just said for a joke. He is dead ass serious. Okay. And like I said, Black people, we would be the main ones he wants to ship over there. Okay. What if he just started taking prisoners out of their cells here in the US and started shipping them over there? You don't think he would do it? And the rest of the Republicans would likely sit there and not even say a damn word. Okay, please pay attention. Please pay attention. This sounds like human trafficking. Okay, why would the El Salvadorian president even want U.S. citizens over there in his prisons? You know why? I'm so glad you asked. For free labor. Okay, this is human trafficking as far as I'm concerned. At the end of the day, if he does something like that, he's definitely talking about human trafficking. And him and that El Salvadorian president have likely made some sort of deal. I want you all to pay attention. And remember, you heard it here first.
Now we know Trump a little bit. We know that when he keeps saying something over and over again, he is not joking. We know that he is incapable of holding his cards close to his chest when they are having discussions about these things. And we've seen two new reports. One was in Politico this weekend about plans. One is Stephen Miller's plan to do a mass denaturalization of naturalized U.S. citizens who are incarcerated. We saw, can you believe it, the name Eric Prince again, who apparently is involved in an effort to use private prisons in El Salvador and in other countries, with the U.S. perhaps entering into a treaty of cession, something I really think about when I think about maybe getting Alaska from Russia, a treaty of cession so that the U.S. would control the territory in that country, and therefore there could be no claim that U.S. citizens were being moved off of U.S. soil. It's crazy and diabolical, but it's real.
Welcome to Thomas Side Group in Kennesaw, where our friendly staff is ready and waiting.
When Attorney General Pam Bondi does this studying, as the president said today, when she looks into the legality of this, which the president continually says he doesn't understand, doesn't really care about, wants to find out whether or not it's legal, it's being looked into. What is she going to find when she looks into U.S. case law and constitutional protections to find whether or not this is something that they could legally do?
Well, it's a strange thing. If she didn't find the Fifth Amendment that says every person in the United States, person, not citizen, is entitled to due process of law, cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process, which should have stopped the deportation of Mr. Abregu Garcia and others who received no due process. I'm not sure what she's likely to find with this look. I think there are two things to think about here. One is that, as almost everyone knows, there are nearly 2 million people incarcerated in the United States. Most of them are in state prisons, not in federal prison. The person who assaulted the old lady is most likely not in federal prison. There are about 200,000 people in our federal prisons. So I'm not sure the population that Trump is looking at, if it is the state prison population, that creates complications for him. And in any case, we have a constitution that prevents cruel and unusual punishment, sending folks here who are incarcerated to what has been identified as a torture prison, as a prison that the warden of CCOT in El Salvador said is the prison no one ever leaves. That is simply a violation of the constitutional rights of prisoners. Prisoners who are citizens of this country are United States citizens, and they have the rights of citizens. And so I don't have any faith that Pam Bondi will, in her research, will feel bound by that. But that is the state of the law. And that's why so many of us have been looking at this very closely and preparing. Because I think, as you alluded to earlier, Rachel, when the plane takes off, the plane takes off. That's what happened to Mr. Abregu Garcia. This administration has made clear they're not interested in lifting a finger to get people back, even people who were wrongfully they were all wrongfully shipped to El Salvador, but certainly this individual was, by concession, wrongfully sent to El Salvador. So it's very, very alarming, very, very frightening, and something we have to get out ahead of.
Cheryl and Eiffel, Howard Law School professor and friend to this show for a very long time. Thank you for your time tonight. We're going to stay very closely on this story. We'd love to have you back soon as it
Thank you.
as it develops. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel.
Okay.
Okay, so y'all heard that, honey. The end of the day, Trump has lost his mind, okay? I mean, he is making some of the most crazy decisions. He really is a dictator. He really is power hungry. All right, so now let's talk about this US-born woman that was told to leave the country. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, here we go.
To leave the United States. That's the email that Nicole Macheroni got from the Department of Homeland Security just last week. That email went on to say she had to leave within 7 days or, quote, the government will find you. But here's the thing. Macheroni is a U.S. citizen, born and raised in Massachusetts, and an immigration attorney. Nicole Macheroni joins me now. So this would almost seem like crazy town. But walk us through what happened and what DHS is saying, which is, as I understand it, you have to leave.
It does seem like crazy town. So I got an email from DHS on Friday morning. I am an immigration attorney. It came to my work email. I get emails from DHS. I get emails from ICE, usually about clients. This one was a little bit different because there was no client name on it. There was no case number on it. It was just my information, and they were asking me to leave the United States.
Did you have even a moment's doubt that maybe this was like not even real?
I did, yes. I kind of laughed at first, and then I was like, wait a minute, this is very concerning. I think since then it's become, well, more likely than not that it's an administrative error on DHS's part, but that's concerning too. They're not.
Now, this woman is a whole entire immigration attorney. Okay? This woman is a whole immigration attorney, and they tried to get her up out of here. I want you all to pay attention, honey. This is all so crazy. How many mistakes is Trump's administration going to make? Okay, and they've only been in office a few months. What a group of idiots.
Being careful with who they're sending these notices to.
Well, did you reach somebody from DHS? What did you do after you got this and determine, hey, this might be actually a legit letter from them, even if it is an administrative error?
So I personally have not heard from anybody at DHS or reached anybody there. The email did come from a no reply email address. They have made some general statements about the email since all of this went public. And they did confirm that it's a real email and that they will be dealing with emails sent in error on a case-by-case basis. That being said, I have not heard from them about my particular case.
I mean, big picture here, what does the fact that you, a U.S. citizen, born here, receive this email, what does it tell you about the process and where it is now? Had you ever, in your years as an immigration attorney, ever heard of anything quite like this?
Never quite like this.
Maybe they want to get rid of her because, like Denise said, yes, she was fighting against them. They didn't like that. Maybe they want to get rid of her because she's helping immigrants to stay here in the country, honey. This is all crazy. How do you send an immigration lawyer an email telling her to leave the country? First of all, if you want anybody to leave the country, why do you send them an email? Period. Crazy.
It tells me that the process is a mess right now. DHS isn't being careful. I think their main goal is to scare people into leaving the United States. They want immigrants to be uncomfortable here. And I think the takeaway is not only that it was sent to me, but it was sent to a lot of people that received this email. There were some other U.S. citizens that received this email. There were people in all sorts of status that received this email. And
hold on, y'all. Let me see if I got one of these damn emails, honey. They're sending them out like, I mean, they're just passing them out, apparently. Okay, they're just passing them out, honey. So that all being said, let me check while y'all listen, honey, see if I have one, because this is all crazy.
it's important to remember that entering the United States on parole is legal immigration. So there's a lot of people that enter the United States legally and have a reason to stay here that received this email out of the blue.
What do you think is going on? And I wonder if you have clients who might receive this same email. What's the impact of that?
So it really depends on the individual client and their situation here. There's a lot of different people in different situations that would receive an email like this. The first thing that happens is they panic. I've gotten a lot of phone calls about this email or other emails or things people have seen in the news where they're worried that they're going to be impacted by the current immigration crackdown. The next thing is to talk to somebody that is familiar with immigration law and see how it actually impacts them and whether they have to leave or whether they can remain here lawfully or there's something else they can do.
Well, Nicole Maturoni, keep us posted. Let us know how things are going. And we thank you for taking the time to tell your story. I think it's important. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.
Isn't this something? D. Major said legal immigration provides legal protections. Honey, tell that to the man that got shipped over to El Salvador when he had legal protections to be in this country, okay? So it's all crazy, honey. This is all crazy. Reg said because the queen be lighting up YouTube every day. So that's why they're going to send me over to Reg. Truth Brown said, Queen, we would show up and show out, and you know that, okay? They better not even think about it, honey. This is all crazy as hell. The Inkwell said an immigration attorney was scooped up by ICE in Southern Florida a few weeks ago. What? Are you serious? See, this is making me think this is all on purpose. Okay, say what now? Hold on. This is making me think that they're doing this on purpose. Oh, so crazy, honey. What's really going on here? So, hold on. Florida immigration attorneys get more calls for help. I don't see that story about the immigration attorney getting scooped up in Florida, honey, but they probably did, honey. Trump is crazy. Okay, he has got this whole country turned on its heel. Do you hear me? At the end of the day. Well, anyway, let's see what Biden is talking about. Let's see what Biden is talking about because he gave his first speech since Trump took office. And if he starts babbling incoherently, I'm going to have to stop it because I'm not in the mood for it, okay? And I know you all aren't either. If he's making sense, we'll listen.
We're Maryland, but we're close friends. And folks, you know, it's no surprise that he did a hell of a job when I asked him to be commissioner of the Social Security. And the reason I did that is not an ordinary transition for a governor. But I knew, I mean this is from the bottom of my heart, I knew we needed someone with some guts, some toughness, who'd fight for every single penny that it needed, that would try to restore the integrity of the system. And to everyone here today, I want to thank you, all of you, very much for this award. It means a great deal to me coming from you. And I mean that sincerely. It means a great deal. You're in the front lines every single day. You're helping, you're advocating for your fellow Americans, Americans with disability. It's a big deal. We talk about what happened in the physical side of it if we didn't have Social Security. Think of what the psychic calm it gives so many people who just don't know where to go, don't know how to traverse what needs to be done, or alone. Last fall on the White House lawn, we celebrate the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. As a United States Senator 400 years ago, I was looking back on it. God almighty, I've been doing this 50 years. It's hell turning 40 years old anyway. But back in the year 1990, I was the co-sponsor of the Americans with Disabilities Act as a United States Senator. In my view, and I suspect many of you, it was one of the most consequential civil rights laws in American history. That's what got me involved in politics in the first place. Delaware, like Maryland, was one of those states, was a slave state. We had all the vestiges of what was going on back in the day. We were one of those states that still, I remember moving from Scranton, Pennsylvania down to Wilmington, Delaware, and Cole died. My dad moved back to where we could get a job. And I remember I pulled into, my mom would drive us on the Philadelphia Pike connecting Wilmington and Philadelphia. And we lived in an apartment complex. And she'd drive us it was only about half a mile to Holy Rosary School in Claymont. But it was so dangerous, she wouldn't let us walk up because of access road. And I remember pulling into the parking lot. And I had never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time I was only going in 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by. They never turned right to go to Claymont High School. I wondered why. Asked my mom, why? So in Delaware, they're not allowed to go to school, in public school, with white kids, honey. That sparked my sense of outrage as a kid, just like it does. I mean, and these young kids right here can tell you things affect them when they learn about something that's really just unfair and unjust. You know, my dad was an honorable man. And my dad.
Okay, so this sounds like word salad. Y'all want to keep listening or what? The wellness warrior said, wow, 4th grade. I didn't think he made it that far. Panther Strike said, are you hearing him, people? Colored. Truth Brown said, that's the only story he remembers. Y'all are terrible. Okay, y'all are absolutely terrible. All right, so anyway, with that all being said, was it John Doe? Yeah, or Don Joe. Don Joe said that Biden's been dead for years. This is somebody wearing a mask. Honey, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. I saw a video with something on the back of his neck that looked like it was lifting up, like it was, in fact, a mask. And I've seen some of those masks, and they look very real, honey. I don't know if this is Biden or not, but what I do know, the real Biden created that 94 crime bill, okay, in the 1986 Drug Abuse Act, which negatively impacted people who look like me. And that's something that I've never gotten past. All right, but let's continue.
Dad used to have an expression. He said, Joey, your job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. Well, that's what you're all about. That's what the legislation is about. It's about dignity, simple dignity. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their standing, regardless of economic situation, regardless of who they are.
Tell them, Biden.
Making sure that more than 60 million Americans who are living with disabilities are treated with dignity is who we are as Americans. That's what it's about. I mean it. Dignity at work, at school, in their communities, in every corner of American life. Laws like the ADA need advocates like you. You're the ones that keep it going, God love you. You fight like hell every single day to make sure the law is respected and your clients' rights are protected. So from the bottom of my heart, I mean this. I give you my word as a Biden. From the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your commitment to the dignity of all Americans, because that's what ultimately this is about.
Okay. Ups, hold on. I'm going to have to go back because he just said something that sparked my interest. He said, today I want to talk to you about an interest. Something sounded important. So let's go to that, because all this babble about when he was in 4th grade, never having seen black people before, wondering why they couldn't go to public school and all that. Honey, I'm not trying to hear that, Biden. Okay. Save that. All right. Save your civil rights speech for Black History Month. Why don't you? Okay. So let's listen. Now I want to hear this. It better be good.
Right now, for millions of Americans, Social Security. You know, some of you may know the Democrats have declared today the Save Social Security National Action Day, National Day of Action, I should say, We know just how much Social Security matters to people's lives. Everyone in this room fights for people with disabilities who rely on Social Security to.
Okay, he's a day late and a dollar short on that discussion. We already know about Social Security, the importance of it to elders and those with disabilities, and how Trump and Elon are just, dismantling it. Okay, but so listen, because here's the interesting thing about Mr. Trump. Earlier today, I reported, for those of you who saw the first broadcast, if you didn't, please go check it out. But when I talked to you all about Diddy this morning, remember I told you all that the judge or someone accused, of the prosecution had accused Diddy's team of attorneys of practicing gamesmanship? Well, now, funny thing is, Trump has been accused of it by a judge who went in on him. No tolerance for gamesmanship. Judge reminds Trump administration, you lost, okay, at the Supreme Court of the United States in wrongfully deported dad case. Tells them to start following orders. All right. This came out a few hours ago at 6:24 p.m. The judge is not playing games. Fed up with government's gamesmanship and grandstanding over the Kilmar Abrego Garcia deportation case. This is what a federal judge in Maryland told Trump. Okay. And she tore into Trump's administration on Tuesday afternoon following yet another nose thumbing by the Justice Department in court filings, with DOJ lawyers and administration officials being blasted for not providing proper updates and blatantly ignoring judicial orders related to the deported dad situation. Well, because Trump's already made up his mind that he's not going to do it. He's not going to bring that man back over here. And in fact, he wants to send citizens of the United States over there as well. So the judge says, we're going to do this by the federal rules of civil procedure. Okay, U.S. District Judge Paula Zenas told Deputy Assistant Attorney General for Immigration Litigation Drew Ensign and the court Tuesday at a highly anticipated litigation. Okay, a hearing on Abrego Garcia's deportation saga. Now, saying no press release is going to move the court the same way that sworn under oath testimony from persons with knowledge does. If you have objections, you're going to have to make them consistent with the rules. I know Trump didn't like this. Noting how she wanted to move things forward quickly, Zenas scolded Ensign and the DOJ for not providing proper updates on Abrego Garcia's location, as well as his mental and physical health conditions, and what steps are being taken to bring him back. Well, I can tell you, Judge Zenas, there's no steps being taken to bring this man back. In fact, it was Trump, the president, who sat there today laughing at the White House, laughing and chuckling and cracking jokes with the El Salvadorian president and talking about how he's not going to bring that man back, how the man's a M13 gang member, and how the man had no business being here in the first place. Okay, that's what Trump's talking about. The Trump administration dug its heels in earlier in the day, defiantly telling Zenas in a court declaration that even if Abrego Garcia were to be returned to the U.S. somehow, after he was mistakenly deported to a terrorist prison in El Salvador, he would be swiftly detained and removed upon his arrival. An attorney for the Department of Homeland Security filed the sworn declaration minutes before Tuesday's afternoon hearing even began. If Abrego Garcia does present at a port of entry, he would become subject to detention by DHS. This is what the declaration stated. In that case, DHS would take him into custody in the United States and either remove him to a third country or terminate his withholding of removal because of his membership in MS-13, a designated foreign terrorist organization, and remove him to El Salvador. So the administration's declaration was filed shortly after an attorney for Abrego Garcia, a native of El Salvador, was in the U.S. with protected legal status at the time of his deportation. They accused the DOJ of flouting orders from the U.S. Supreme Court, okay, because the Supreme Court already told them you can't do this, and Zenas instructing the government to return Abrego Garcia to the United States. Now, the 3-page filing alleges that Trump's administration officials have been intentionally misconstruing court orders since Abrego Garcia, whose wife and child are both U.S. citizens, was deported in error. Can you imagine how his wife and child is feeling right about now? So worried, so concerned. They can't speak to him, can't see him, don't know what kind of condition he's even in, if he's ever going to be coming back. Doesn't know if he's dead or alive. This is sad as hell. So his wife and child are both U.S. citizens. He was deported in error in March under President Donald Trump's unprecedented use of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, a wartime authority only previously invoked 3 times, the last of which was during World War II. That's how long ago it's been. Now, specifically, the filing focuses on the government's interpretation of the word facilitate in orders from both the Supreme Court and Zenith. Last Thursday, the High Court largely upheld Zenith's prior order requiring the Trump administration to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from the El Salvadoran work prison. Let me tell y'all something. Trump is a man of lawlessness. He doesn't give a damn about rules. He doesn't care about authority other than his own. Nobody's going to make him do anything, is what he's sitting up there thinking in his crazy, rabid little mind, because he knows that the Supreme Court that's telling him what to do, that's ordered him to get that man back here pronto. Well, that same Supreme Court has made it to where a president won't be arrested and locked the hell up while they're in office. Now, Zenith subsequently ordered the DOJ to inform her on Abrego Garcia's current status and the steps the DOJ has taken and plans to make and facilitate his return to the U.S. But the Trump administration has been outwardly defiant, repeatedly stonewalling the court with daily updates that provide Zenith with little to none of the information requested. The judge says there will be no tolerance for gamesmanship or grandstanding. Cancel vacations, cancel other appointments. I'm usually pretty good about that, not this time. I will be flexible if you need to accommodate depositions in the courthouse. I'm going to be available if you need to do it at odd hours or weekends. That's what I'm talking about. Zenith argued, according to Cheney and other reporters in attendance Tuesday, that every day Abrego Garcia is locked away in El Salvador is a day of further irreparable harm for him and his family. Abrego Garcia's wife was at the federal courthouse in Greenbelt, Maryland, where protesters reportedly gathered to voice their support for him. Kilmar, if you can hear me, stay strong, the man's wife, Jennifer Vasquez Sura, said outside the courthouse. God hasn't forgotten about you. Our children are asking, when will you come home? And I pray for the day that I can tell them the dates and the time that you'll return. Describing the government's response, Sura said, this administration has already taken so much from my children, from Kilmar's mother, brothers, sisters, and me. Now, President Trump on Saturday evening stated that the fate of Abrego Garcia and all of the barbarians, he called them, he doesn't even liken these people to humans, okay? He calls them barbarians, which I find interesting, okay, that he doesn't consider himself a barbarian after having 34 felonious counts. And all of the barbarians deported without due process through the AEA was up to El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele. So he's basically trying to blame it on the El Salvadorian president as if he had nothing to do with it. On Monday, Trump met with Bukele at the White House and took questions about Abrego Garcia's situation. Both he and the El Salvadorian president, I don't know if I'm saying this man's name right, but anyway, they tried claiming that their country's hands were tied when pressed by reporters about why Abrego Garcia couldn't be brought back to the United States. The question is preposterous. Okay, that's what El Salvador's president said. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States. Full of crap. Okay, you all heard him say that earlier. Ask why the U.S. wasn't complying with the Supreme Court's order. Okay, why the U.S. wasn't complying with the Supreme Court's order. This is what Trump told CNN's Caitlin Collins. How long do we have to answer this question? Why don't you just say it? Isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Instead of asking and complaining about why one was accidentally sent and shipped somewhere and we can't bring them back. Why don't you just ask some other questions? Because I don't want to answer this, because all I'm going to do is gaslight and project. That's what Trump's thinking. Zenith said Tuesday that the comments between the two presidents in the Oval Office were not a non-responsive answer to her questions, saying if that were in a court of law, it would be real infirmities in a trial in a court of law. This is what the judge explained, per Cheney. It is not a direct response, nor is the quip about smuggling someone in the United States. If the government were facilitating his return, Zenas asserted that there would be no smuggling going on. I mean, isn't that what I said earlier? See, they're playing stupid. Trump and Bukele, or whatever his name is, when a wrongfully removed individual is outside U.S. borders, it's not so cut and dried that all you have to do is remove obstacles domestically, the judge said. And this is what she told the DOJ. The judge said that there would be 2 weeks of intensive discovery to come in the case, and that it was time for the Trump administration to accept defeat and move on. You made your jurisdictional arguments. You made your venue arguments. You made your arguments on the merits. You lost. This is now about the scope of the remedy. Okay, so this is what the judge has said. But at the end of the day, the latest update is Abrego Garcia still remains in an El Salvadorian terrorist prison. Okay? So it's really, really crazy. It's really a sad situation. Reggie said this is also dirty and nefarious beyond the pale. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. So with that all being said, Trump is just determined to do whatever the hell he wants, as we can clearly see. Okay, we next, aka DSB, thank you for your super chat donation, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. I appreciate you. So Denise King says they can't bring anyone back because they're removing others out as well. Yeah, they can bring them back if they want to, but the thing is, Trump is determined. He's already made up his mind. Y'all heard him on the open mic. Not only does he not want immigrants here, he doesn't care if they had a right to be here or not. He doesn't care. But he also doesn't want American criminals here. Some of them. But he's fine being a criminal himself. He's fine being a whole criminal himself. Okay? Sitting up there in the White House, running it like he's John Gotti or somebody. Okay? Reggie wants to know, will Black people stick together if Trump comes for us? What are y'all going to do? Let me tell you something. There is something that came out during the Reagan administration. Okay? There's something that came out during the Reagan administration that gives the United States all authority to snatch up people who look like me and get them put somewhere. Okay? I'm not going to get into it. But at the end of the day, thank you, Tatiana, for putting it in the chat. Because you really can't talk about that on ScrewTube. But at the end of the day, I should do a video about it on Rumble. With that all being said, that's the news for now, folks. Okay? Don't forget to follow your lifelines, gathering your non-perishable food items, buying water every time you go to the store, your flashlights, batteries, first aid kits, you name it. Okay, make sure you have it. This country is literally going to hell in a handbasket. And we don't know what the next day holds because Trump has clearly lost his mind, if he ever had one. And unfortunately for us, he's the one at the wheel at this point. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening. I'll see you in the morning with your morning wake-up call. I have some Diddy information. I'm going to save it for in the morning. And with that all being said, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
With that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest artist right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got